March of 2020, the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic. It's about 200 days ago. Approximately 30 days after that time, the clients of Channelcorp, that included resellers and vendors and distributors, called us up and said they needed help. When we first started to go in and help the partners in particular, at first we thought it was a liquidity problem, followed by a stabilization problem, and then a recovery problem, and then regrowth. And as we've done more and more of these sessions around the world, and we're up around 20, 25 sessions around the world, we've discovered that there is going to be no recovery in channel partners unless there is business model transformation. So this issue of liquidity, most of the early failures have already failed. So it's not a liquidity issue anymore. There's a stability issue clearly, but this recovery now requires a transformation until we're going to get to regrowth. So the partner recovery program is relevant because we can take 6 months to 12 months out of the learning curve of a management team and a channel partner, or a channel manager and a vendor, in 6 one-hour sessions, including the content that we're providing. That's why it's relevant. Well, I think you really have to understand the way we started here. So we don't just have a pandemic, we have 3 structural problems and a pandemic. So let's talk about structural problems. First, we've got pre-existing conditions. 50% of the channel partners came in January 2020 technically insolvent. So before the pandemic even started, we had people who had a great deal of difficulty meeting their liabilities as they came due. Number 2, we have some demographics, unprecedented demographics in our industry. By the end of 2020, 15 to 25% of the CEOs and principals of channel partners around the world will be 65 years or older, all of whom are trying to figure out what they're going to do with their businesses moving forward. And then finally, we have a transformation that's going on that has simply been accelerated by the last 200 days. And that transformation is a transformation in the industry structure from a product-centric industry to a service-centric industry to an as-a-service recurring revenue industry. All 3 of those transformational structural issues need to be addressed before the transitional issues of COVID. Eventually, COVID will be gone. And when COVID is gone, if we haven't dealt with those 3 structural issues, the 3 structural issues will still be there. So that's really what's changed, is our understanding of the nature of this situation. It's quite unprecedented. One transitory problem is one thing, but a transitory problem combined with 3 structural issues in an industry, that is an entirely different set of situations. And that's where we are. Oh, I think a couple of things. Number 1 is such a rapid transition from demand that was on-premise driven to demand that is cloud driven. We're seeing remarkable growth in the cloud sector and transition from purchases that used to be on-premise to purchases that are now cloud-based, even in the face of flat or reduced IT expenditures. So that's one thing. And failures. You know, we've seen some businesses fail, and we will see more businesses fail. So the bad news is some businesses failed. The good news is there are some customers that are available now that weren't available before, and there's some very talented people that are open for employment. So those are the things that have changed as we've moved through this thing, and we're a long way from being done. We have 2 groups and then subsets of those groups. So we have a group of executives from vendors and distributors whose job is to put together programs and manage channel partners to grow the channel partners' businesses. They're interesting. They don't have any skin in the game, but clearly they're interested in the growth and the health of the channel partners. The real prime focus of this program, though, is the channel partners. These are the CEOs, the presidents, and their direct reports. They are the board members and the advisory board members of resellers, of VARs, of systems integrators who are trying to figure out how to not only deal with the liquidity issues that have been generated by COVID-19, but also deal with the three structural issues that we have in face. One being pre-existing conditions, the second being the whole issue of demographics and what do we do with the company later on, and then the third issue is the fundamental transformation of the business model. And that's really where the program focuses, is helping people make the decisions, make the investment decisions to drive that transformation.
In some of these companies.
So the Partner Recovery Program, it's a 6-part program. Each session is 1 hour, which includes the question and answer from the group that's listening in. Each one of the sessions has a white paper that's designed to reference the content and also provide shareability. So let me talk about the 6 components of the program, and then we can talk about how various clients of Channelcorp have been using it. So the first session, October 28th, is when it starts. It's about channel and partner ecosystem damage. It's about really understanding what has happened here, what has happened to yourself, what has happened to your partners, and what's likely to happen moving forward. That's really to level set, to make sure that your organization has a commonly held understanding of what's going on and what you're going to do next. Then we start to dive into recovery options and game plans. We start really focusing on the transformation. The earlier you get focused on it, the earlier it's going to end. And this is a 6, 12, 18-month project, depending on what kind of shape you're in right now. So the second session is really focusing on recovery options and the various game plans. Then we start digging into some of the functional areas. Clearly, client retention and expansion are crucial. We already know, and what we have learned in the last 200 days is the maintenance of your installed base and working with your installed base to generate capital is absolutely crucial to finding net new customers and growing the business. We know right now that there is absolutely no chance of recovery and transformation unless you can add net new customers. Now it turns out that 2/3 of the channel partners in the industry right now do not have anybody dedicated to marketing. We know that it is almost impossible to add net new customers without anybody dedicated to marketing. So session 3 is about client retention and expansion. Session 4 is about client acquisition and development, including discussions about transformation of compensation structures, as well as compensation and organizational structures moving forward. The 5th session is about financial dynamics. It's about understanding how the various parts of your business has 3 components. It has a product component, it has a service component, and it will have a recurring revenue component. All of those components process cash differently. Cash comes in, something happens, cash comes out. So we need to understand what's under the hood. We really need to understand the dynamics so that we can anticipate what's required. And then finally, December 2nd, we do the case study. We call it Red Company versus Green Company. And it really is a case study of an organization. One organization, the Red Company, that didn't transform and died a slow death, maybe a fast death. And the other company, the Green Company, which did transform. And the focus on December 2nd is what investment decisions have to be made and what is the impact in terms of the valuation of the companies long term. Because that's really what it's about. Survivability is only relevant if the organization is going to be worth more after this thing is over. And right now, what we're realizing is that there is going to be no recovery without transformation. And done properly, the transformation will increase the value of the corporation quite dramatically as we move forward.